Shalom Aleichem and welcome to Online Smicha. Today we'll discuss the halacha on this week's Parsha. This week is Parshas Mechubaros, Tazria, Metzora. The opening statement, the opening psukim speak about Isha ki Tazria v'yolda zachar. A woman gives birth to a young child, a boy. The Torah says the mitzvah of Milah, Uvayim hashmini yimo b'sara lasai. The Eira Chaim HaKadosh has a long arichus explaining what is extra, which dinim do we learn specifically from here that we don't know already from Parashat Lech Lecha, where Avraham Avinu was already told stav on the mitzvah of Milah. The Gemara tells us ba'arichus a few very important points and how the mitzvah of Milah is unique. B'yoyim hashmini yimo b'sara lasei. So the Gemara in Shabbos says, Tanya Rabbi Shimon Gamaliel Omer, Kol mitzvah shekibula aleim b'simcha, any mitzvah that the Yidden accepted from the beginning in a happy manner, could go in Milah, the Ksiv, Sos anoichi al amrasecha k'moitzei sholo rav, and Rashi explains that is referring to the mitzvah of Milah. Since it was neskabel from the beginning b'simcha, adayin oisen oiso b'simcha. So when we celebrate it today, we also celebrate it b'simcha. And Rashi says, what is b'simcha? Sha'oisen mishta. You make a party, you make a celebration when you do the mitzvah of bris milah. And then the Gemara goes on and says another thing. Tanya Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar Eimer, Kol mitzvah shemasru Yisrael atzma maleim lemisa b'shas gzeres hamalchus. Any mitzvah that the Yidden did it with total mesiras nefesh, that even when there was a situation of gzeres hamalchus, the Yidden were ready to go on mesiras nefesh to fulfill that mitzvah. Kegoin avodas kaychavim umila adayin hi mechuzekes biyodam. It's because they gave themselves over to fulfill that mitzvah throughout the generations. You find that till today the Yidden are doing it b'mesiras nefesh. The chol mitzvah, however, the mitzvah shaloi mashru Yisrael atzma maleim l'misa b'shas gzeira. Since we find some mitzvahs that the Yidden did not go on mesiras nefesh when push came to shove, could go in tefillin. For example, we found that tefillin, there was a period of time the Yidden were nebach forced and they didn't fulfill. Adayin hi merufa biyodam. It's still shaky. It's still not done the way it should be done. But the mitzvah of Milah was neskabel b'simcha, so we still fulfill it b'simcha. The mitzvah of Milah, throughout the generations, the Yidden did it b'mesiras nefesh, so till today it's done in a very powerful way. It's done the right way. What is the mitzvah of Milah? So further, a couple of Mishnahs further, when the Mishnah talks about Milah b'Shabbos, which we know, we learn from Ubayoim Hashmini Yimo B'Sara Lasai, that it's on the 8th day, no matter if it's Shabbos. So there are issues that there are certain malachas which typically is not allowed to be done on Shabbos. But because the Torah insists that the bris milah should be done on Shabbos, you're allowed to overrule the issues of Shabbos. So the Mishnah talks about Oisin kol tzarchi milah b'Shabbos. Whatever is part of the mitzvah of milah, you're allowed to do on Shabbos, even though on a typical Shabbos it's questionable or it's prohibited. And he lists off 3 important points: moyhalin, upoidin, umoitzitzin. There are 3 points to the 3 parts of the mitzvah of milah. The moyhalin is the cutting, the poidim is the peeling, and moitzitzin is the sucking, is the drawing out the blood. Now, I just want to touch upon, there's a lot of conversations going on, controversial conversations about the mitzitza. The milah, everybody knows what it is, who and how you cut. The priya, the mitzitza, how the mitzitza should be done. Throughout the generations, it was done bepeh, orally. And the Ungar Sherabanim go very, very, very strict. Chok v'layaver, it has to still be that way. And in some Svarim it says that only in those countries where we found that there was a Gzeras HaMalchus, that they did not allow it to be done b'peh, so they found an exception that it could be done not b'peh, with a straw or whatever other way, however you do it, b'matlis or any way. But it should be done, and it's a sakana if it's not done. That's what the Gemara says. So much so that it's brought in Shulchan Aruch based on the Gemara that if Mila is done, Priya is done, and the Moil does not do Mitzitza, you fire him. You don't use him as a Moil. He has to. The Mitzitza is part of the 3-stage process of the Mila. The discussion of the safety of the child and Nebuch, there's a lot of issues that come along with the safety of the herpes virus or the AIDS virus. That's the big conversation, and there's a lot to talk about it, and I'm not the right one to paskin. But the last part of the Perek talks about, again, in our Torah, the Torah says, in our Parashat, the Torah says, Bayayim Hashmini Yimo B'sar Alasei. Says the Mishnah, Katan Nimar L'Shmeina, L'Tisha, L'Asara, L'Achadasar, U'Yud Beis. A child, when he's born, a boy, he could either be gemalit on day number 8, day number 9, day number 10, 11, or 12. But not before 8 and never after 12. And the Mishnah explains how. Everything is fine. If a child is born and he's healthy, it's Bayayim Hashmini Yimo B'sar Alasei. So in a regular case, Kedarkai Lishmeina. Noilad Lebein Hashmashes, if he's born Bein Hashmashes time of the day, so we don't know if today is his birthday, or Bein Hashmashes he's already from the next day. So we don't want to do it early. Nima Lates. So he gets pushed off to the 9th day, possibly what's considered the 9th day. Bein Hashmashes shel Erev Shabbos, if he was born Friday Bein Hashmashes time, now we got a double problem. The problem is that it's Bein Hashmashes, so we don't. Typically, it will be the 9th day, but the 9th day here is Shabbos, and Shabbos you could only mal a bris, a mila bismana, a mila shalei bismana cannot be done in Shabbos because of those transgressions. So if it's Bein Hashmashes shel Erev Shabbos, nimar la'asara. His bris is the 10th day of his birth. If it's Yom Tov la'achar HaShabbos, if Sunday is a Yom Tov, again, a Yom Tov you can't do a bris unless it's bismana. If it's a bris that's out of its ordinary day, even Yom Tov can't be pushed away. So therefore, Nimo la'achadasar, this child his bris will take place in the 11th day of his birth. Beis Yomim Shel Rosh Hashanah. If, however, what happens after is 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, Nimar L'Shneim Asar. So he will have Yud Beis. His bris will be 12 days after his birth. So that's what the Mishnah says, even though the Torah says by Yom Hashmini, but that's if it's Avada, you know when he was born, and Shabbos gets pushed away. However, Katan HaChayla, if there's a young child that is Nebuch sick, we know the Billy Reuben, Ein Moilin Hoisoy Ad Sheyavri. They don't give him the bris milah until he's full healthy, and that the Gemara goes on to say, perhaps you count a certain amount of days from the time he becomes full healthy. We give him then 7 more days, and the Gemara has a discussion if the day itself that he's healthy is counted as one of the days or not. Yasher Koyach, please join us again next week.